Hey, hey, hey. Here we are once again. Let's dance. I wish I had a flashy intro, some bad house music to go with Let's Dance, but unfortunately, you just got to use your imaginations. We're here once again talking about our friend the Ruiner. Okay. Um, hey, this is going to be, I guess, a different kind of video based on the fact that we're analyzing. The Ruiner seems to be adjusting things somewhat. I'll do my best to stay focused and try and make this a shorter video. People have a problem with the length of some of my videos. I don't blame you. I'm going to try and break things up or try and keep things more on track or more concise in order to not lose the plot. We're here talking about a new video, new interview entitled "The Ruiner Unplugged: Shane Inside Out." It's published by a YouTube channel called Not in Our Name. That seems to be a collaborative effort between two people, a woman named Christine and a woman, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Carlia, with a interesting name that I haven't been familiar with. The great thing about making this video that I'm making today is that we're going to have an opportunity to clarify some things, talk about some things in a different light. And I think we're going to have just a different kind of take on this video, and we're going to walk away with me having a little bit of a different take on the Ruiner. It's not a complete reform job. I think the guy is still doing some of the things that I don't like, but he's clearly making a shift, and there's some sort of alteration here. I don't know if it's just because of the context of this video, or if this is something new that we can expect Shane the Ruiner to be doing. And what I think is essentially what he's doing is he's trying to get away from these kind of factual, historical-based statements about, this happened to me, and then that happened to me, and I saw this encounter with this entity, or I had this encounter with this entity, and is rather trying to move things, I guess, into a more, I guess we could call a more metaphysical or spiritual direction. And hence, because of that fact, I'm going to have different things to say. And some of the criticisms that I've had in the past just won't be invoked as strongly in this video, because he doesn't do what I really didn't like, which is what I think is just lying, fabricating tales, making up stories, and putting that information out there as fact, where believable and gullible or just credulous people will absorb that information. Some of that information can have random impacts on their life. It can affect the direction of their life, and also I think affect the direction of Shane's life. The fact of the matter is that I've said this before, and I say it again, I really do. I'm doing this out of love. Okay, Andrew Basagio, Randy Kramer, Corey Good. These people are either my age or older than me. Okay, and so I don't think I would have the same impact on them if I were to say to them, guys, you could hurt yourself, you know what I mean, doing this, and you should refocus your life and attention on different things. You got a lot of potential here, kiddo, but you got to stop with the malarkey, the lies, and the bullshit. It's also not good for yourself. You should be happy with being human. You're a miraculous creation in and of yourself. You don't need any divine right of kings, any past amazing existences or lives. In fact, what I think sometimes that can distract us from working on our present incarnation and being the maximum improved character that we can be, and maximize our happiness and operate at our highest vibration and be, good and glorious and pumping and not feeling disadvantaged, disconnected, this sort of thing. So I say, concentrating more on spiritual, not so much historical information and testimony. I think that's a good thing. He does still do that old thing, and we'll get to those points, and we'll talk about why I think those are not so great. But I do want to concentrate on the fact of this, is that one of the great things about doing this, having Shane do this thing, is that it gives me an opportunity to clarify several key points for people that I really think do need to be clarified. There's clearly an ongoing controversy and fight amongst people in the UFOlogy, conspiracy, new spiritual practice, New Age community, community, and there's a lot of split up between an actor by the name of Corey Good, okay, and fallout and flack that happened with him on a Project Avalon web forum. This literally is internet drama, and I'm participating in it. There's no way that you can get on the internet, start talking about internet drama without having that, you're involved. And I think we're going to talk about that, because we're going to talk about the things like people brought up and criticized or talking about my videos, issues of hypocrisy or whether or not one could pass judgment on another person's spiritual beliefs, or one should engage in this sort of criticism about these things, or if these things are valuable. Or another thing is, why am I wasting my time? Hey, there's a kid on the internet saying wackadoo stories. The fuck do you give a shit? Right? Well, because it does have an effect on people, and it does affect this kid. I like this guy more and more every day. I really, really do think this kid is a good kid. I think he's reformable. We gotta set our intent on getting this kid, at his head out of the stars, and get him into some sort of PhD or master's program. I don't know if he's graduated college yet. If not, he's got to go back to school. He does. He doesn't have to spend $1 million at an expensive school. But this kid needs to be educated. Why? The kid's got value. He's not a dummy. He really ain't. He ain't a dummy. Okay. So, like I said, I'm already going to start winding on. I get off track so easily. Okay, spiritual, not historical information testimony. Okay, so I'm not pro or anti either of these characters. Okay, I'm going to tell you right here and now. Okay, I know Corey Good has spoken to me via text. I've spoken to him via text. I've also spoken to the Ruiner via text. You know what I mean? So that does change the dynamic somewhat. But I really got to say that to both these guys, I've got the same advice. Don't do what you're doing. This is cuckoo. It doesn't end up good. Bob Lazar, Jordan Maxwell, these guys, the Mr. Strangers who used to hang out with, Valiant Thor, talked about that guy all the time. This does not pay the bills, okay? And if you're doing this, you're really doing this out of love. And Shane, if you're not prepared to be a hermit, you know what I mean, living by yourself in a monastery somewhere, I gotta tell you, I think you should concentrate on some more practical applications and ways to get you out of a life that you may have now that you don't like so much into a life that could be better. I'm not saying you don't have to be spiritual. I'm not trying to shut you up or invalidate you. I'm trying to validate you and say, this is... Don't hook your dreams to a falling star. It ain't worth it. Okay. I'm not pro con any of these guys. I love them all. I really do. I love Corey Good. I love Randy. I love the shit out of Randy Kramer. I love Randy Kramer. I love Andrew Besai. I love all these guys. So I'm not anti any of these guys. So it's very important that people know and understand that, people have a lot of emotions. And I think there's going to be some people who see this video might say, fuck, because some people really are upset with this Ruiner guy. They have taken sides. There's some sort of level of personal heart space involvement, and that can skew people's perception of things. So it's very important people understand that I'm not anti any of these guys. I love all of them, and I wish no one any harm, and I wish everybody success and happiness. I really do. The fact of the matter may be that I may make predictions about what could or couldn't happen in Shane the Ruiner's life based on patterns of behavior. I may be wrong. And if I'm wrong, maybe he ends up being a stellar success, keeps on with the giants and the bullshit and the aliens and the blah, and he still ends up, celebrated author, novelist, movie writer, whatever the case may be, philosopher, thinker, guru. Hey, you know what? If he comes out on top, he comes out okay, and he's alive and he's happy and he's well, got no problem. Like, I'm not anti this guy. I'm not trying to come at him like that. Okay. Then why am I doing this? This is a very important question that's been raised many times by many people in looking at these videos. Why? Because people, if you make historical or factual statements, and Shane goes into some sort of modification, we'll get there, those things can have effect on the real world. Okay, and we are essentially, I think maybe Shane would agree with me on this point, we are weaving our own tale here. In the past paradigms might have involved us always being born into a set system where our religion, our spiritual, or metaphysical ideas are imported and imprinted upon us at an early age. And it's, we live in monochrome societies, and there's just no getting at it. And that's just where it comes from. And I think we would all agree nowadays that in today's modern world of the New Age wonderment, whether you think that's a bad word or a good word, right? We're making our own myths. And Shane will go into the power of imagination. Shane is going to say a lot of things that I'm not going to criticize because I think they're good. I think they're okay ideas and thoughts. If he wants to say that shit all day long, he should. I feel like there's something with my camera today, that there's something going on, which is fine. Like a typical fashion, I guess this is the point where I'd start blaming, interference from AI technology. See what they're doing here? Come on now. I'm normally not this stroby. Come on. I don't know. Seems to be a little bit of that going on. We'll see. Maybe I did something wrong with the. Oh, fuck it. You know what I mean? Turn the volume up and turn the screen away. Okay. People like Zachariah Sitchin and Jordan Maxwell have come out in the past. I wouldn't want to go too far afield, but they say things that maybe just need to be taken as speculation or contemplation, but these things are being put out there as historical facts, and then you have subsequent generations of readers, thinkers, and researchers who then take that on wholesale. So now it's very common for people to go around all the time assuming that it's kind of a given that what Zachariah Sitchin said about the Anunnaki, or altering us or changing us or this, that's an established fact, that we can start from that point and move forward. I do not think that that's an established fact. Some people do, some people don't, some people have their different reasons why. I am simply not convinced. I just think that Zachariah Sitchin looked at the Sumerian text, Sumerian tablets, and let his imagination go wandering, and that's fine. That's fine, as long as we know and understand that he sprung board off of past scholarship, okay, and that we can look to that past scholarship to see, okay, what's mythology, what's myth, what's history, what's this, what's recording, what's this, when did the cuneiform change, etc., etc. How do we speak Sumerian? Was this a proper translation of the word Anunnaki, etc.? Same thing with Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell came out and said a lot of amazing things, a lot of interesting things about his concepts of astrotheology, and very specific comments that he had about his analysis of legal principles in the law, especially maritime law for some reason, and banking, the Federal Reserve, but also the etymology of words. Why something is called Thursday, why we use this word, and some of the stuff that he said was just incorrect. It's just wrong. Now there seems to be some sort of we're in this interview with Shane. I think there's an attempt to get away to criticize calling things right or wrong or good or bad. I don't operate from that philosophy. There's some people who say that it's all just everything, and everything should go with the flow, and yada yada. I've just never been that way. I think that critical thinking is good. I think skeptical thinking is good, and I think talking and discussing these issues are good, even though some people could say it goes too far, yada yada. Whatever. That's my point of view. We live in a plurality of worlds, right? Where many points of view equal many worlds, and we got to navigate them. We got to interact together, hopefully successfully, so we don't get all just deceived. And I do think that you can be deceived, and you can be lied to. And some things of historical note should be kept historical, and some factual things should be kept factual. Okay. So that's in brief. A point, also, I just want to point out the interviewers. There's one woman takes the lead, and the other woman does some backup. They're no Art Bell. Okay, she's not at all skeptical about this guy. In fact, if you read the show description, she says that this conversation, it's not even called an interview, this conversation really comes from their underlying friendship. Okay, and I think that that's important to realize and take in, so you have some sort of context for what's going on, because sometimes based on the fact that it might sound like Coast to Coast AM, we might think that the person is Art Bell and the subject, asking exploratory questions, trying to get at the truth, trying to push, trying to get into uncomfortable zones. That's just not what this woman is about. There's no obligation for her to act like Art Bell or conduct it as an interview if that's not what's going on. But just to keep it in context. The most important thing that I think that Shane is doing here, okay, and I don't know if this is something that we can expect from him in the future, or if this is just a kind of a one-off based on the informal nature of this interview, but I do think that Shane is getting away from, or trying to get away from, facts, figures, locations, identities, right? And wanting to move the conversation into a metaphysical way, in a metaphysical direction. And I think that's a natural and normal thing for him to do at this point in the career arc that he's going, because this is where he's going to achieve escape velocity if he can, from this kind of whistleblower, insider, Illuminati insider kind of mythos that does him no service. It confines him, puts him in a box, and it's a poorly constructed box because it was constructed by a much younger man. This man needs to grow. We need to get him out of that box, and I think he knows that too. I think he knows that he's on shaky ground saying things about facts and figures and giants and this, and is therefore trying to move us, in this certain direction, even though he does make certain factual statements that I think are zany and nuts. and we'll get to those in the criticisms. But I think overall, the moving towards the power of imagination, there seems to be, he's drawing a lot from, certain magical schools, and it's all fun, schools of hidden knowledge or whatever. And it's all, come on. And that's the other thing, is that people in the past, I think, have criticized me and have thought that I was criticizing Shane's spirituality. I made it very, very clear and very, very important in my own analysis to make sure that I was only criticizing those statements which were factual statements which I thought were incorrect, wrong, or egregiously wrong, or just didn't make sense. And I would have no reason to talk about his underlying spirituality if he were to say something like, Jesus Christ is a hologram that appears to me in my sleep and tells me what to do. Well, we're in the realm of the imagination. I mean, he's making a factual statement that this happened, but it's in dreamland, so why would I go off and be like, you never saw Jesus Christ in your dreams? Come on. It wouldn't be the point. The point is if he says that he went to, this, that, and the other mountain, I think that's a shaky story. It just doesn't make any sense, or doesn't comport with him as a person, his general je ne sais quoi. That's another thing. Okay. So, I think that some people thought that I may have criticized his spirituality in the past. I don't. So times here where he talks about spiritual and metaphysical things, you're probably not going to hear me say much in against it. Number one, because what's the point? It's his personal spiritual beliefs. I don't care. And then number two, a lot of them are spiritual beliefs that we kind of share. And I'm sure, many of you guys share as well. Many of the Corey Good fans will probably share the thoughts as well. He's not blowing the whistle. He's connecting the dots. People who know the info. So there's a move towards, we're adjusting the past statements. We're explaining why we wrote the blog. People misunderstood the blog or the purpose of the blog. Still claims insider knowledge. And I got to tell you, he jumps on this AI bandwagon. It's a bandwagon. We had the Greys, then we had the Reptilians / Dracos. Then we have the Archons, and now it's AI. The AI is completely in control. It's all the AI. I just don't think that we're there, folks. I'm going to be doing a full video on AI. And we're going to talk about all these things. I have done my homework. I don't want to hear anyone saying that, because we have, and we're going to get into it. Shane is on board with the AI. I think this is Shane just basically going with the zeitgeist. We're all saying it's AI. He already laid the groundwork and said the Dracos were leaving. Now it's kind of sounding like he's saying kind of affirmatively that the Dracos have left, and we're now in the hands of this AI. This AI is a borrowed concept. It's not saying he created. And it's very important to know that certain aspects of this new AI mythos don't exactly comport with his past writings or past speakings. I'm gonna put that out there. Okay. It's all in the hands of the AI. So it says multiple versions of the truth. And I've always said this from the beginning about Shane, is that I think that he's intentionally caging. He's smart enough to know that he doesn't want to get pinned down. So like a good shoot fighter, he's moving around a lot, and everything is, it could be this or it could be that. If you want to take it as fiction, take it as fiction. Nothing in me, man. You know what I mean? And also, I'm not telling you to believe me. No, it's just all food for thought. You know what I mean? If you get something out of it, good. And if you don't, okay, sorry, I wasted your time. You can't get your hands on this little chameleon. He's all over the place. That's fine. That's a viable survival technique. But it is what it is. I mean, it just when you do that, that's fine. But it's like a politician. You want to flip flop. You want to be cagey. You want to have guarded answers. That's okay. But eventually, people are going to figure out, hey, man, why don't you just say what you're trying to say? You know what I mean? And it gets like that. Move towards solutions, doesn't want to concentrate on these historical things. There's telepathy and energetic concerns. That's what I mean. When you get to telepathy and energy concerns, what am I going to say? Do you know what I mean? First of all, I don't know whether telepathy or these things exist or don't exist. Yeah, I'm agnostic about a lot of these things, but even though I think that it'd be great if these things were true, and certainly would be lovely, and there's certain ways you could look at, just like karma or dharma could be seen as metaphors for real things or real ways that the world physically works. So too, I think you could think of things like telepathy and empathy, and kind of get to a space, where it's like, well, it could be really describing just the basic, hints and nuance that we get from nonverbal cues, the strong emotions we may feel for a person in another place, or maybe it says something about how things work electronically in the brain, right? Or maybe it just says something about magical things that really do exist. You know what I mean? And this is now. See, now look. This is the interviewer asks a question. She says, "People, I guess, should be saying, how does this info help to overcome and understand. And I make some notes here. It says, don't get hung up on the story. What is actionable? What is actionable about the story? And I just want to say this, is that this where Shane shows himself to be as human as me, and these gals show themselves to be as human as me as this. Clearly, there's so much bitter shit sent in Corey Good's direction. Basically, when this guy talks about, and these people talk, this group of three talk about savior races, and people are waiting for savior races, you don't need to be, all you need is a slight insight to the story to know exactly who they're fucking talking about. They're talking about Corey Good, David Wilcock, and the Sphere Being Alliance, okay? Fuck those guys waiting for savior. Don't wait around for savior, man. People waiting around for a savior. That's that. They're taking pot shots at Corey Good across the bow. It's just what's up. People could say that it's not doing it. Read it. The context is clear. There's no reason. It's savior race, savior race, savior race. That's the new Ruiner Club code for Corey Good. We're going to slam Corey Good, but we don't want to mention his name. We don't want to we don't want to appear that we're making it personal, or, right, we don't want to give him the, promo or whatever, so we're going to say that these people talk about savior races, okay? Even though that pen could certainly, that brush could certainly paint other people in the world, other organizations and groups clearly. I think based on context and the history of these characters, and they're all interconnected. It's high school. They're talking about Corey Good, and they like to take pot shots at Corey Good, and it's obvious that it's the case. What is actionable? Basically, the implication is that Corey Good's information is waiting for the savior race. The Blue Avians are going to come down and save all of us. Is a stand down order of some sense, telling people to give up and not look out for themselves. And the Shane is here to say you got to do it yourself. You can't even rely on me. You can't rely on these people that I'm talking to. You got to rely on yourself. And, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's WrestleMania. It's debates about nothing. Okay. And by the way, no one is paying attention to this debate. Look at the views for videos about sports memorabilia or the size of a particular comic book character's package. No one is paying attention to this shit. Okay, and we just need to put that in context. Why? I think what I'm going to keep on saying is that people need to be also aware of the fact that you're going to have to I want people to have a successful life in the real world. I don't want people not going to school because they think the world is going to blow up in 2012. I've seen it happen. Okay? I don't want people to put off having a real life because they become obsessed with conspiracy nuance theory that goes on forever, and you dig and you dig and you dig, and there's always a new character, and you discover the Greys, and who's behind the Greys? It's the reptiles, and who's behind the reptiles? It's the Archons, who's behind the Archons? It's AI, and Sophia, and Gaia, and the great spirited coyote, and if you want to be a religious ascetic and move out into the Himalayas or live in a monastery, that's fine. But if you do know that you live in the real world, and you do know that that you want to have some basic securities in this world, don't lose yourself in the story, as they say, and be aware of the fact that you got to eat. And if you have boys or girls or little kids or a wife or a husband, they got to eat too. Okay. Go to school. Anyway, imagination and will, it's magic. It's magic. You know what I mean? A little bit of Crowley. A little bit of John Lamb Lash's Sophia. You know what I mean? Get it out of there. A little Lannis. Get some Lannis in there. Stir the pot. There you go. Telepathy and energy. Get the AI in there. Boop, boop, boop. It's all just, it's just stuff. Now, here's the other thing I'm going to say. Now, I hope this, talk about the value of evaluation, questing, or in conflict of this issue. I guess they're talking about, they'll say things, too, that I don't think they're talking about me, but I definitely think that they're talking to their critics, or Shane's critics specifically, and there seems to be this notion that they want to have that if you are criticizing Shane or criticizing anybody or saying that this is right or this is wrong, that essentially you're incorrect. We'll talk about that philosophy. We'll talk about why I don't agree with it. I don't think it's valid, and we'll get to it. It's all energy versus projected reality, matter, slow energy vibration, holograms. We generate energy. The reason I'm just saying these random things is to just let you know that the guy is not doing and talking about the same things they did last time, right? It's not the Giants and the Mound in Canada at this day or that day. It's not I was a member of this organization and they switched me over there. We're not hearing about people, places, and things. We're talking about ideas. And that's fine and that's beautiful, but I want to tell Shane this. Don't be surprised, right, if you see a drop off in play as you move in this direction. And why would that be? Because the people that generated the hits for you on these YouTube videos, on your blog spot or whatever, the frisson that drives them is the frisson of conflict. And it's the frisson of real life players, and you don't live in a humdrum reality, that we really do live in Star Wars or Star Trek. That's what people want, and that's what people want to hear. And if you move into this metaphysical realm, you're just going to be one amongst many, right? There's 1,000,003 people out there talking about Taoism, karma, being enlightenment, non-dual philosophy, cosmological concerns. And generally, you're going to just fade into the background, because what the people that generate these hits on these channels really want, if you look at their comments, if you look at the way they participate in the information or whatever, it's clear. It's the boom, 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 boom. This guy did this, and then this guy said that, and coming back at you. Didn't you say? And it's this stuff. Okay, He incarnated, but then again, he still has his special things about him. He incarnated with past memories. He's told he was wrong. There's nothing special about him. His imagination versus provable reality. I don't know. Guys, he doesn't say much for me to latch on to. And that's not to say that he doesn't say anything of value. I think these things do have value. In fact, the things that I'm going over with the most short shrift, I'm just taking as granted that you know what he's coming from, what the thoughts on the subject are. And some of these thoughts are just okay. Holographic nature of reality, the power of intention, the use of our imagination to be co-creators in this existence, moving into higher vibrational states. I mean, why would I say anything bad about these things and these ideas? They're fine, but I think that you're going to see people are just going to be like, because there's already people out there doing it, and you just end up kind of, I think you're going to go into the fray, into the sidelines, because people want something special, and that's why they like the Ruiner blog. Because there was giants, Illuminati insiders, the parents, the elders, the Anunnaki, right? We're all getting down for realsy on planet Earth, and that also means that something's going to happen, right? So I don't need to worry about the fact that I've got overwhelming anxiety over the fact that I'm eating dog food today, because the world's going to end tomorrow in 2012, September 28th, 2015. 2033, if you take Nostradamus, you hold him upside down to a mirror, okay, and you make every I a T and every T an I, 2033, it's all going down. Everything we said about 1984, but 2033, right? That's what people do want, I think. That's what I think your audience wants. You know what I mean? Metallica can cut their hair, right, and record a whole album moving in a totally different direction, but they're called Metallica. Their fans want them to play Metallica music, and the fans are going to go, St. Anger, is not going to hit. They're going to go away. You know what I mean? It kind of goes that way. I think that may be what you experience, and Mike wants you to think that you want to go back to telling the things. Don't. Okay, you're much better off having these people forget about you. Trust me. These guys obviously have some sort of inner dialogue going amongst the three of them. They have some sort of past. I guess they say something about trauma prior to Draco control or AI control. It's very clear that they think that they've identified or that they know about a specific traumatic event, I guess in not necessarily human history, I guess in history prior to incarnation. And there's two big things that I think that they could be talking about. They could be either talking about Atlantis, something to do with Atlantis, or they might be talking about, this notion, John Lamb Lash and some of his ilk did some interpretations of the Dead Sea Scrolls, where they had all these wild ideas about Sophia and the way the nature of reality was created, and these past kind of archetypal entities like Sophia, and the Archons came out of that, and there was some sort of event there that caused people to come down to planet Earth. And I guess that's what they're referring to as this past trauma. I mean, past trauma is something that I've mentioned before in the past that I've dealt heavily with Scientology. So believe you me, the notion of something traumatic happening in human consciousness and having adverse effects on all of humanity moving forward is nothing new, right? And in fact, they go on to talk about the fact that it's got some myths reflected. But this really does seem like a private thing that they've already agreed to. It's already set in stone, and that's the way that it is. Okay, astrotheology. Astrotheology is wrong. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Jordan Maxwell is a fantastic inventor and spinner of tales, but 90% of what he said was just incorrect. It was fascinating stuff to listen to, right? You would definitely want to get that guy another drink at the bar, right? But that doesn't change the fact that we know what the etymology of these words are, and we have the historical translations and records from the Bible transliterators and stuff. He's just wrong. And a lot of things, I'll tell you as a lawyer, a lot of things that he says about maritime law and the effect of maritime law and what happens when you step up to the bar, it's just paranoid, delusional, imaginary thinking, which has no connection to reality. It just has no connection to reality. The notion that America has been replaced by a corporate. There's some of these things you're going to disagree or agree with me on, right? Some of these things may piss you off to hear me say that I don't agree with this or I don't believe that, but it's just kind of the way that it is. It's just the kind of the way that it is, and it's all we do is go through and have a discussion, have a conversation. Dancing, right? We're dancing here. I think these guys got to let this kid, when he gets his shit together and stops bullshitting people about being anything other than a guy out of Canada. And that's not me insulting him, because guys out of Canada are human beings. Human beings are pretty special, God damn it. You know what I mean? You don't need to be more than that. And once this guy gets back to that, smooth sailing for this kid. I think he's going to be okay. Smarty pants. He's a real smart guy. I like him. Co-creation, imagination versus the internet, or what's going on Facebook. Again, it'll always devolve. It always goes back to we're talking about spiritual higher things, and then before you know it, it's let's talk about critics and why people get it wrong when they criticize and all this stuff. It's just the things you say, right? It's like, I made you say that. Remember that game when we were kids? Be on the schoolyard and some kid would be like, say something. You'd be like, what? And they'd be like, I made you say that. Get under your skin. It's driving you crazy. And it's like that. It's like, a brush off. Like, anyone who criticizes us clearly is coming from, has something missing in them, which makes them point out at the world. Well, that's a thing that you can say, but it's not necessarily a thing that's necessarily true, and it's certainly probably not true 100% of the time. You mean that any time anybody says anything critical, they're saying something nasty about themselves? What if I talk ill about a rapist? Right? What if I speak ill of the dead, slave owner, rapist, massacrer? It's just, you can criticize these things. You know what I mean? Female genital mutilation is a religious practice. Okay, it's a cultural religious practice. Can we not criticize that? If I criticize that as a white guy in suburban America, am I engaged by default in some sort of ethnocentrism or bigotry? No, come on. Give women the right to vote. Let people be people. So this notion that people can't be criticized or that thoughts can't be bandied back and forth, I just disagree with wholesale. And anyone who says that, if you criticize, there's something deficient in you, that is just something that people say when they're being criticized, right? You always say that. At it again. These things that people just say when they're in conflict. It happens. 27 minutes and 40 seconds, people looking for a savior. Use your imagination to figure out. Now, Shane, we got to stop and we got to go into this in detail. Shane, I love you. I really am starting to love you. But this whole you go back. You got to be careful this whole what you're using imagination for, because use your imagination to figure out, but the imagination can be incorrect or wrong. We make our own reality. I get it, but trauma. We talk about the trauma. Interviewer implies universal trauma in the past, which created many of the problems that we see. Root of trauma not available to us in a written form. That's according to Shane. Other versions are out there which give our imagination bad imagery. Basically what he's saying is that the trauma, you can use the imagination to figure out truth of reality. I guess really kind of what Shane, is going to is, and I said it before, the first time I've ever talked about Shane ever was on a Facebook post, I think, or whatever. And the first thing I said was they said this guy is, kind of, a middle path practitioner. He believes in magic to a high degree. He believes that we're co-creators of reality. He believes that we are creating our own reality, that we have a direct effect on what we perceive and experience around us, and this, that, and the other thing. Implicit agreement with this concept of soul contracts, all this jazz. But then again, there's problems with that, because imagination is imagination. I mean, I could imagine, look, I'm going to imagine Shane the Ruiner, right, having sex with a monkey. Banana comes in handy. Watch it. Shane, no, what? Don't turn around. I'm joking, I'm teasing, but what's the point? Just because I imagined it didn't mean that it was reality. And, the secret and co-creation of the power of intention, that can play with your noodle, that can bake your brain, that can end up hurting you in the long run. Be careful, because the fact of the matter is that we are fallible, and we might have amazing powers of our own, of intent and control of our own reality, but there's some things that we just don't control. You can come to understand them, understand you're being taken slave, or understand your handicap as being part of a soul contract, or something that you agreed to do to learn a lesson. If that helps you process it, incorporate it, digest it, then God bless, go for it. But I think that, just that's what you're doing. You're using spiritual technology to achieve a goal, which I think is what it's there for. But anyway, don't. This criticism of it's not. I'm not right and you're not wrong, or you're not right and I'm not wrong. Talks about what essentially, he doesn't use the words, but he talks about the Rashomon effect. The problem with perception and memory. Input from interview. If you judge something, and this is 31 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, I don't think they're talking about me, but it would be nice to think that they were. It would be. If you judge something as wrong, you have thrown out a valuable piece of the crystal. Oh, let me show you why I'm not throwing out a valuable piece of the crystal when I say that something that Shane says is wrong. Okay. Let's think of one thing that Shane has said. Met a giant. Okay. Shane comes and tells me an amazing story. He says that he met a giant. Tells me the whole tale. Soup to nuts. I turn to him from across the bar and I say, it's a good thing I didn't spend my $7.50 seeing Jupiter Ascends, because you just did it for me, right? That was brilliant. That was a woo. By the way, you're bullshit. Just come on. I don't believe you. Maybe I can't say that I know, but it just doesn't make sense with what I know about reality and what I think about things. So I'm going to say, don't believe you. Okay? Now, have I thrown out a valuable piece of the crystal? Well, let me say that there's a way that we can think about what I'm doing as not throwing away a valuable piece of the crystal. Because when I hear that guy, Shane, when I hear a guy tell me, anybody, that in a past life they were Julius Caesar or a god, whatever they tell me, I channel, I read tarot cards, I know how to use the power of my imagination. I know that a lot of times when I'm seeing that play, that Leela, that imaginary flow, if you look at it, there's a lot of psychological truth there. So when I hear a guy tell me, and this is not judgmental, this is just putting it out there, and I think you're going to survive, right? You can deal with this. You've let it known that you don't get shaken, and you're not upset about people telling you that you're a fucking liar. Good for you. You say that you don't care what people think. I don't think that's true, but whatever. So look, if a guy tells me that he's a space god in a former life, or Julius Caesar in a former life, okay, or this, that, or the other thing, an amazing importer, he knows that he's here to do something valuable or whatever, 9 times out of 10, I feel like I can hear that story, and you can hear the real story. Who says that they were a space god in a former life? Maybe someone who doesn't feel so big in this life, right? Who points their fingers at the people in power and say they're there because of corruption, greed, and lies, and a system and a setup? Well, maybe you feel weak compared to them. It doesn't feel good to live in a society where people have power over you, and that just seems to be the nature of human existence. We're social animals that group together in large, complex social structures, and those large, complex social structures, at the end of the day, shake out to some people at the top, some people at the middle, and a lot of people at the bottom. Just kind of maybe the way that our brains work, maybe the way society works. It may be something that we can overcome, but for now, I think we have to take that as a given. So I'm not throwing out a valuable piece of the crystal. The crystal is what if the knowledge is there, the truth is there. It's just, what is the truth? Is the truth that Shane is a space god? No, I think the truth is that Shane is a human who feels that he wants to be a space god. Now, here's the thing. If Shane wants to be a space god, God bless him. You know what I mean? But I'd much rather say to this kid, instead of worrying about whether or not you're a space god, you know what I mean? Be like the best Shane that you could be. Be a kick-ass Shane, right? Because I gotta tell you something. Whenever these people tell you that you're a space god or whatever, or Julius Caesar's past life, it's like science fiction, or almost like bad science fiction. The details are missing, but reality is so amazing. Like real life experiences, going out, having a good time with friends, hugging people tight, getting laid. You know what I mean? There's so many good things out there that people, you know what I mean? Like, caring, saving a kitten from a tree. There's some real shit going on. The actual feel of bark and how it looks. None of our science fiction movies, none of our CGI effects ever really look like real. So, fuck the space gods and their fancy boots. They look like Kiss. If you listen to any description of a space god, Ashtar Command, they always end up sounding like they stepped off a David Bowie or Kiss record, right? You know what I mean? Come on now. Let's do something else. Ba 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 ba. So we're just shooting through here. 30 minutes. We did that. Memory is not perfect. He goes on. He says, Shane, stop talking about fucking memory. You're not a neurologist. You have no idea what you're talking about. All your thoughts on memory, the way it works, they're probably not the way it really does work. So don't, you know what I mean? Who needs it? You just say something else because, neurology is out there. We know how memory works. You know what I mean? Nothing gets pushed off the shelf to make room for something else. It's just not the way the memory works. His personal trauma has been processed 41 minutes and 23 seconds. This is an important point. And it's unfortunate that's happened at 41 minutes and 23 seconds of my video. That's crazy. This is a timestamp 41 minutes, 23 seconds. Timestamp here on my thing was 41 minutes, 23 seconds. That's cool. Anyway, his personal trauma has been processed. I said something bad about Shane that I regret saying, okay? Shane in the past has talked about past, I guess I'm going to call past childhood sexual or physical abuse. Now, when Shane told his story about things that he had seen as an Illuminati insider, he described things in a way that basically, he literally said that he was like the camera in the movie Eyes Wide Shut. Now, I latched onto that, and I basically said to that guy that he was a fucking asshole for doing that because, shitbag, you know what I mean? You're the camera, so I guess you're not getting fucking ass slammed, right? If you're the cameraman, right? And so I thought it was everyone else in the room was getting raped, but Shane's, as I said, his bunghole remains unviolated. And I know I'm being crass, and there might be a lot of triggers there, and I apologize, but I really do think that getting crass, getting real, getting authentic, taking off the shiny fancy stuff and getting at what I'm trying to say about this guy is valuable here. Okay, so I latched onto that. Was basically like, this guy's a jerk, right? For that. You know what? In retrospect, now I go back and he's basically saying here that he was through some personal trauma. Now, what am I going to say? You know what? Completely slipped my fucking mind like an idiot when I was doing that analysis where I was talking about Shane being the cameraman in Eyes Wide Shut. Look, I feel very confident in saying that Shane has not seen a giant. Not that giants don't exist. I've got no problem saying that I don't think that Shane was an Illuminati insider that was part of these super secret organizations or is highly trained in this or highly trained in that. I don't think he's ever met an alien. Maybe he has, I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, I really don't believe it. But for all those reasons that I don't believe those fantastical tales, someone saying that something bad happened to them in their childhood is not a fantastical tale. It happens all the time. And it was douchey of me. Straight douchey of me to proceed in such a cavalier attitude when the fact of the matter is that Shane's stories or a lot of his tales could be the result of some sort of childhood trauma or physical trauma. Okay? I'm going to say this for Shane's benefit. This is now what? Let's just do this. Shane, this is for you. Just for you. Just for Shane. Here we go. Shane, if you haven't actually been the victim of sexual assault, okay, but you start to imply that you were the victim of sexual assault because of critics like me, and then you take that lie on and say that you were, I'm essentially the guy who fucked you, right? Think about it. if you were proceeding on a train of thought that said, I'm going to have this tale about me, I'm going to have this conception of my reality, conception of my self-identity that does not include being the victim of sexual assault, if someone starts saying, whoa, hold on, this, that, and the other thing, and then you start saying, oh, but I was. If that was true, then you get the pass and you're on, and it's fine. Don't take this the wrong way. But if you are lying, I made you lie about that, right? Me or the other critics, we made you do that. And then I'm the guy that fucked you, right? I'm the guy that took the guy that wasn't a rape victim and turned him into a rape victim. Don't give me that power. Don't give any of these critics this power. If things happen to you, they happen to you, and I'm sorry. I really am. Okay? And maybe we'll talk, and maybe you'll just if you tell me one time that it really did fucking happen, that's it. It happened. Okay? But if it didn't, don't let people make you say things about yourself. Don't give them that power. It's not worth it. Because this is all going to disappear, Shane. It all does. You know? The circus leaves town. And there ain't no money in this business. Yeah, there ain't no money in this business. Go back to school, would you? You're so smart. You're a really smart kid. You really are. There's no way that you can tap dance like this, right? And not have a truly creative mind. And not just a truly creative mind. I think you've got some solid ways of describing abstract philosophical concepts that bespeak a guy who should be in college. Sir, you know what I mean? During the rest of us in the professional world, you have the brain power for it. If you're wasting your time in some dead-end job, we got to get you out of that dead-end job. And this ain't the way. Because this is not going to end up in anything except maybe your knob is going to get polished a couple of times. You know what I mean? A couple of people are going to smoke you out behind the Issetti Ranch maybe once or twice. But then again, at the end of the day, man, it's going to get old quick. You know what I mean? You ever do punk rock in the back of a white panel van? It's really fun and exciting at the beginning of the tour, and at the end of the tour, when all you can smell is your band member's ass, and when it gets older, it gets harder and harder. I don't know, dude. I'd get out. I think you're going on the right track. Get out of here. Get out of this silliness. Talk about metaphysical things. Talk about spiritual things. That's what I would do if I were you. If you 43 minutes, the birds chip in, and they say, if you criticize, it's only because you haven't filled that space in yourself. Wrong. Sorry, folks. You're just being criticized. You're throwing ideas out there into the marketplace of ideas, and people are doing what they do with ideas. They're discussing them. They're talking about them. Is this real? Is this right? Is this toxic theology? Is this positive for people? There's no way to do it. And by the way, did I mention your criticism of people waiting for the savior race? You know what I mean? Hate the sinner. No, hate the sin, love the sinner. The end result is the same. You have passed judgment. You have passed, aspersions, and you have criticized. You're the same as everybody else. I just want to say this. Okay, not good and evil. It's organic versus inorganic. It's but a hologram. We're going back to the AI bullshit with this organic versus inorganic. Wait till my AI video. People are going to have a problem when they realize that the entire theory about this artificial intelligence, this whole notion of organic versus inorganic, is wrong. Chemistry, organic chemistry 101. The definition of organic and inorganic that is being used by these researchers is so wrong-headed and incorrect. It's stupefying. We're not doing it here. We're going to do it in a later video. If you're it's not good versus okay, whatever. We don't have an outside enemy. It's all flow. It's all dance. Shane, you talk. What am I going to do? This guy saying that life is all about flow, and it's all dance, and there's no enemy. Fucker, I've never criticized you. This is good. This is okay stuff. Would I read it? Nah, you know what I mean? I've got enough, books by Aleister Crowley and Israeli Regardie on my bookshelf waiting to be read to get to you, brother. But I think you're doing okay. We need to find you. We need to figure out what you're interested in. We need to figure out what college program is right for you. We've got to find you a good college near you that's not too expensive, okay? And that'll be your springboard. We're going to send you to college. I'm not going to pay for it, but I'll do anything in my power to help you encourage on a more positive path, okay? And you're in Canada, and they're socialist as fuck, so I know that there's education opportunities at the wazoo. Maybe you already have a degree. I got to reach out to you. We'll talk. We'll see what's going on with you. But if you don't have a degree, there's no reason for you not to have a degree because you're smart enough. You know what I mean? You're college material. Hear about you wasting your time on some dead-end job. I don't blame you. Fuck, dead-end jobs suck, man. I had dead-end jobs all my life. You know what I did about that? changed my life circumstances, did what I had to do to create a new reality different than that old reality. You can do it. You're doing it already. You're doing it already. But we want to make sure you're doing it in a positive way that's positive for you and good for you. So what's the bottom line? Shane, keep on moving in this direction. I like you. I like you as a person. It's hard to listen to this kid and not get some sympathy, because at the end of the day, I'll tell you this. You can say that you're a space god with a tone of voice that makes people think that you got the world's biggest ego, or you can say it in a tone of voice that lets people know that you feel like you need to be that, have that identity. You don't. Shane is good enough. Believe you me. Look at your big brain. You grew all by yourself. That's not an insult. That's the truth. You're a smarty pants guy. You got what it takes. Anyway, we're not going to go on and on kissing this guy's ass. We'll just say this. And the fans of Corey Good, look, I still say that the guy is creating malarkey. He's still got a lot of dreams. He's still, saying that things about artificial intelligence is just jumping on the bandwagon, as well as some bullshit about past lives or incarnations. That, hey, man, if you want to believe that or hold on to it as a spiritual truth that helps you grow and process, that's fine. Let's move beyond what's going on today, what's happening today. You seem to imply that that's what matters and that's what we should get over. We should get over the past. Also, these things, like I said, I'll close on this, is that, facts are facts and statements of facts are statements of fact. And the world may be very, very fluid. It may be very, very fluid. And memory might be imprecise, and people might have different takes on it, and perception might play a wild role. Believe me, as a trial attorney, don't for a minute think that I don't know about the fallibility of human memory. Right? Or the way that different people can see the same event from different angles and have a completely different take on it. Right? But that doesn't change the fact that objectively, if we go to the black hole and look at the light pattern around it, the last thing that information is recorded. Information is recorded, and there was a kinetic energy event when the car crashed or the bullet hit or whatever. That's quantifiable and factual. And if you say, I saw Jerry shoot Dave, you might be correct, you might be incorrect, or you might be willingly deceiving people and lying, right? But that doesn't change the fact that this individual was either shot or not shot by this other guy. Probably. Imperfect analogy. Love everybody. Hope everyone has a great time. To the Corey Good fans, let's talk about it, but don't turn on. Please don't. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. There have been plenty of people who have been reaching out to me when I was slamming on the ruiner and acting like, all right, yeah. And a lot of people saying that they liked Corey Good better. That's fine. I'm not here playing favorites. I think both these guys have got gaseous statements about out the wazoo. But at the end of the day, what are they really talking about? I don't know if it's interesting sci-fi, or if it's something that can really help us, spirituality or New Age spirituality. Whatever, it is what it is. But I just want people to be happy and healthy out there. And I just want to say to the Corey Good fans, please, this is not this guy versus that guy. It really isn't the Ruiner versus the Blue Avians. It really isn't AI versus the Blue Avians. It's none of that jazz. You know what it really is at the end of the day? When it's all said and done, 2 years, 5 years from now, when the Project Avalon Forum website has been updated 3 times, 4 times, we're on Web 2.5 instead of Web 2.0, we're on Web 4.0, where the Project Avalon website goes away. You know what I mean? It won't mean a thing in 100 years. Okay? There's going to be another Ruiner tomorrow. There's going to be another Jordan Maxwell, another David Icke coming down the pike. Every day. Right? You got to have a good life. Take care of yourself out there. Okay? Take real good care of yourself out there. Much love and light to everybody. Everybody's fantastic. By the way, hypocrisies abound. I get it. Contradictions abound. I get it. That's the nature of communication, the nature of reality. Let's deal with it. Much love and light. Love y'all. Bye. To everybody. Go to school, Shane. You're smart enough. Bye-bye.